there was a leaked report that Apple was in late stage talks with Google's Gemini powering the new AI features inside of iOS, which is pretty wild. Like, these are enemy number one, enemy number two, right. Like in terms of the, platform wars, you have iOS versus Android, right? You have Apple versus Google. So then why would they be in conversations? Well, Microsoft has GPT, OpenAI relationship, which that seems like it might be a little bit of a problem with Microsoft now that Microsoft is the world's largest company. And the company threatened most by Microsoft and OpenAI is Google, right? So if Apple, the game theory on this is actually pretty interesting. So if Apple were to partner with OpenAI and Microsoft, it guarantees Microsoft's dominance as probably the world's first $10 trillion company. Like, will Microsoft be the world's first $10 trillion company? That would almost guarantee it. I think they probably will be. It seems fairly inevitable to me at this point. This is not financial advice, but whatever, blah, 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 disclaimer. So Apple and Google were in talks, and they are in talks because it seems like Apple is far behind in the LLM race. And I won't give any predictions on whether or not that's going to happen. I think the more interesting trend here is the replatforming of the internet. Like, the internet is being replatformed right now. It's being entirely replatformed. I mean, from hardware up. What's the world's fastest growing company of all time? Let's say public company. Let's say from, 100 billion valuation to $1 trillion to $2 trillion.
I don't know.
It's NVIDIA.
Oh, that's right. That's
right. happened in the past couple months.
Just happened. Yeah, that's right.
It's NVIDIA.
I was trying to think historically. Has anything gotten there that fast? I forgot. It's so recent that I actually forgot it happened already.
Right. So, like, when I say the replatforming of the internet, what are all the data centers? What is everything being processed? Like, we're talking about a fundamental architecture away from the CPU to the GPU, right? We're talking about, cloud storage. No, like massive data centers. There was a rumor that Sam Altman is out trying to raise, and he didn't confirm or deny this on Lex Fridman. So I watched Sam Altman on Lex Fridman, and he was getting deep into the convo. This was round 2, so it was pretty recent, where he was rumored to have been out trying to raise $7 trillion. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm not like making this number up. Lex asked him this question, and it's like, were you trying to raise $7 trillion? And he didn't deny it. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, Lex didn't misspeak.
Even if he wasn't, it's good PR to not
deny it. But right, but why? Because there's a replatforming of the internet. Like, that's being moved off of AWS. That's being moved off of Azure. Like, what is that compute? He thinks that compute is going to be like this new currency, and it probably will be. He's probably right about a lot of that. Sam's one of the.
That's how we'll finally break the anti-nuclear power. Somebody will need it.
We're going to have to. We're going to have to. The compute is off the chain. Like, the exponential growth of compute from here seems like power is going to be a big problem. Which I wrote about that in 2011. I'll have to share that with you sometime. It's called
Nuclear is the only solution.
No, it's called Humanity's Ecological Imperative. And I talk about this ecological thing. It's crazy. I wrote it in 2011 about how we're going to have to move from the information age to the energy age.
Yeah.
It's very prescient 13 years later. So this replatforming from GPU, right, to how data is stored, retrieved, compute. And then that's the foundational level. Well, let's talk about the application layer. What's being built on top of that? Your phone. Well, that application layer starts to break down in some very interesting ways in consumer behavior. I mentioned this on the podcast probably 6-9 months ago, where I said my default tab in Chrome has been Gmail since Chrome's inception.
Right.
Or Google search, right?
Yep.
One of those two.
Yep.
My default tab in Chrome, and I don't know when it happened, became ChatGPT.
It's a huge behavior shift.
It's a if I open my iPhone right now and I look at the bottom, okay, I have phone, I have iMessage, and then I have my mail app. Well, it used to be Safari that was pinned. Now it's ChatGPT. There's an action button on my iPhone, and it says Face ID to open ChatGPT. Like, I can just start talking into my phone, and then GPT starts to talk back to me.
You're saying you're going to replace me as a co-host with your phone's GPT app.
Well, there will be people that do that, for sure. So there's nothing about AI that's built into the OS of your Mac. There's nothing about AI that's built into the OS of this phone. into SaaS applications. Like, so this is the application layer, right? Like the iPhone, right? So all the app store, right? The app store and all those apps, that's the application layer. Like it's built into the name. But what underneath that layer does Apple own whenever it comes to AI? Like, yeah, Siri is baked in to your phone. Like that's on board. Siri is on board on your iPhone, but Siri is nowhere near what it would need to be to perform tasks like GPT. You know, Apple's having these conversations because they don't have the data centers. They don't have the LLMs. Like they would need to go probably become NVIDIA's largest customer, which is only going to cement NVIDIA above its own market cap. So they're looking at like, well, Google already has the compute. They have GCP. They have the AI. Like, so they're talking about it now. Gemini, if anyone saw the Gemini release, like, oh my gosh, it was, I won't get into the political commentary, but Black Nazis, like it's a little bit woke. It's like even the Nazis were,
from a PR standpoint, it didn't seem to go.
No, not that great. There was a little bit of historical revisionism you kind of built into like the bias there, which I'm sure they can fix. It was just like a big faux pas, if you will, on like, okay, you're going too far.
I think it's actually this is just a random comment, but I actually think it's better for an early release to come out with such an absurd level of kind of like point of view, so that it almost starts off from people recognizing that any of these things ultimately do have a point of view. They always are going to have some kind of constraints program in, so that if you start off where it seems like everything it gives you is great and accurate, I think it's kind of easier for people to just accept whatever answer they get from their chat and like never look at primary source material again. But if you start off, if the early versions were so bad that you're skeptical, I actually think that's a better starting point as they get better, for people to kind of maintain that, like, well, you should always check it too, because you never know what this thing is coming up with. Anyway, that's a side point.
So like, I think as a trend, the replatforming is going to create tons of unlikely partnerships, tons everywhere. I mean, Apple and Google, will they, partner on, AI? Like, who knows? I won't comment on that. But you'll see it elsewhere in very, very strange places, and in such public places and such massive places that you probably won't even pay attention to it. And yet you're going to have a hard time justifying partnerships to your CEO when Elon Musk and the CEO of T-Mobile are announcing a partnership to where all T-Mobile phones will have SpaceX compatibility by the end of 2026. Like, that's a big deal. Like, that's billions and billions of new lines and information access happening across the globe in a couple years. That's a strange partnership. That's a new telecom company that's been minted in the past 2 years, partnering with the fastest growing telecom company in the world to transform the internet access for billions of people. And y'all don't talk about partnerships? What the...